Hello and welcome. This is Michael Moon, the Temple of Sound, with a quick astrology update for the new moon of December 2024. And I find this is a really special new moon, so I thought I'd just give it some attention. This is kind of last minute, but I haven't seen anybody talking about what I'm seeing here, so I thought I'd add this to the fray out there. The fray out there is definitely a theme at this time. But what's most important as a theme at this time is the coming in away from it and the tuning in to our sovereignty and our own connection. And which is why I want to do this, because this is such a potent moment for coming into our center and seeding the new month, because that's what the new moon is, but especially the new year. You know, this is the new year. Why is it the new year? It's the new year. It's not arbitrary, actually, though it can sometimes seem like it is. Why January 1st? Maybe you don't even think about it. First of all, it's very connected to the winter solstice, the Capricorn point, sun entering tropical Capricorn, meaning the southmost sun, where it's reached its most southern extreme, which means the longest days in the north and the longest nights in the north and the longest days in the south. It's southmost extreme, and it's a still point, solstice, reaching the still point of sun. And around December 25th, we start seeing the sun return. The light is born. What does that mean? In its path around like if you watch where it sets and rises each day, you'll notice that it's been creeping further and further south until just before solstice, where it just kind of stays still for a little while. They say 3 days. I would say like a good week before you start seeing it. So the solstice moment is like the center point. And around the 25th, you can actually notice that it's risen further north. So you can celebrate. Okay, the light is returning. The sun is returning. The days are going to start getting longer. So that's a natural starting point for the year. It's not the only one. We could say the Aries equinox, the Aries point, the easternmost point of the Earth could be it. That seems natural. But the winter solstice also holds another celestial magic, which is the sun is closest. Well, I was going to say the sun's closest to the Earth. Actually, the Earth is closest to the sun in its orbit, because it's not an exact circle, which is why you might notice that there's slight change of how long a sign is each year or each month. So the sun is closest to the Earth. The Earth is closest to the sun. We are close to each other. We're moving the fastest. You could say that. Why is this important? Well, it's just interesting that lines up with our new year, because it happens around January 1st-ish. So, plus we have the Capricorn south solstice. And that's just background for the fact this new moon occurs very close to this new year, our new year, on the 30th of January. And so the 30th of January, we have a new moon. So we're close to the sun. The new moon is the sun and moon lining up together in relationship to the Earth. So we don't see the moon because it's with the sun. When we look at the sun, we're basically looking at the moon. We can't see it unless it's an eclipse. So, which this is not, but what is special about it is the moon is extreme out of bounds, which means this can only happen at this point in the 18.6 year lunar cycle. So this particular year and a half, 2-year period at this time that we're right in the center of, the moon at the times of the solstices, or when it's in the solstice signs, so Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Gemini, Cancer, it can go very strongly out of bounds, which means it's way outside of its the normal orbit path, the orbit path technically of the sun. So there's a 23-degree on each side of the ecliptic, which is exactly what solstice is. So solstice is when the sun is at its southernmost point. It's 23 degrees closer to the horizon in the north, and then it goes 23 degrees higher for the summer solstice, and there's a band there. And every 18.6 years, the moon has this opportunity to fly out of that band, out of bounds, and be free and wild. And it really holds a secret cycle, and one where the ancients would talk about the moon being the goddess coming to earth, represented by the moon. You would see this in the summer solstice full moons, when the full moon be super low in the sky. This is a winter solstice, so the full moons around now would be super high in the sky. And we'll see that in a few weeks. But what we won't see, but we'll feel, is during this new moon, the moon is going to be super low with the super low sun, and we're really extra close to it. So there's a seed magic point that's sort of hidden. I haven't seen anyone talk about with this new moon being so close to our new year, the astrological new year, and things lining up in a way where it's extra strong, extra special. The sun being closest, the moon being out of bounds, closest to the earth, as far south as it can go, at about 28 degrees of declination. You don't have to know what that means, just picture it as being, from our visual perspective, extra close to the earth. And physically, we're extra close to the sun. And the new moon as a seed point is really important. And as we know, at this time of year, just generally, we tend to want to seed our intentions for the coming year. And this is a super potent and powerful time to do that. So extra special, more so than your average New Year. Especially tuning in around 5:30 tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, January 30th. But generally around this time, don't have to be exact, but and I'm sorry I'm late getting this out, but my life's been crazy. I haven't done a lot of these updates, and I just thought I would quickly do this as a seed of intention. Where these things show up in your individual chart show a clue of what you're seeding. My particular chart shows up in the 3rd house of communication, so hey, I'm going to communicate it, among other things. So what are we seeding? The Capricorn is the energy of cardinal earth. It's the initiatory, let's make stuff happen and build something for our children's children's children. Something beyond ourselves, for society at large. And the traditions that hold that in place, but also continuing to build upon that. And at this time, we have, I'm looking at the chart here, if you see me looking away, some pretty potent ongoing aspects that should be mentioned. So the first one, which is really challenging, is the Mars-Pluto opposition that's been going on since the beginning of November 2024, and it continues into end of April 2025. And what's probably really been going on a little longer than that, but the first peak of it was November 3rd, 2024. And we know how intense that time was, at least in North America. Now we're reaching the second peak of that for January 3rd. And this polarization can show up as a lot of polarization, anger, us against them, Leo pride, fighting like the collective, I'm not going to conform, kind of energy. It can be very embattled, embittered, like warlike, explosive, but it can also be incredibly empowering. Basically, in a very general sense, it'll depend on if this shows up in an area of your chart, if this is personal or just collective. But on a general level, this aspect brings up power struggles in order for us to really engage with our power in a new way and to try and do it from an authentic place in terms of Leo Aquarius, to be authentic and yet understanding of the whole, the collective, the Aquarian side. But the most important thing is to engage with our power authentically. And this has a strong level of sovereignty to it. So how we can be not follow what everybody else is doing and really find our own. And this is a subtle thing, because it can sometimes be like, okay, where I'm not going to follow what they are doing, but I'm going to join this side and do what they're doing, and thinking it's like this oppositional thing is somehow tricks us into thinking we're being sovereign, when really we're just taking a side. And the big thing right now is to kind of let go of the side taking and to kind of open up to the possibilities of what is our truth? What is the truth that's coming through that's bigger than our ego, but is still connected to our personality and our unique statement that we're here to make. And so we could be challenged around this, and to take up that challenge. There's no way to avoid it. Avoiding it will just cause problems, and you tend to get pushed further when you do. The other challenge that we're having is we're at the first quarter phase of the Jupiter-Saturn cycle, which started the end of 2020. And it's kind of pushing and challenging what we've been working on since then. And this is part of a much bigger cycle. But it's kind of, right now there's like this kind of quiet pressure it's not that quiet actually, but just in this moment, this new moon time, there's kind of like this a bit of a, I won't say calm before the storm, but sort of quiet pressure before it blows. Next year is going to be very intense. There's going to be a lot of change energy happening, and that'll be a whole other video. But I'll quickly just say I think the change is going to be very positive, but it's going to be very unsettling. And we're kind of building a foundation right now for that, and clearing the way for it, and kind of creating some kind of, I would say, new belief structure. I think there's a huge consciousness shift about to happen. And the old belief structures and ideas, even the more progressive ones, need to be updated, and they need to go along with like a whole level shift of consciousness, new ways of seeing the world that we have never quite seen before, and it changes everything. And in light of that, we're our belief systems are being challenged at this time, whatever they are, to be updated. Basically, we need a new operating system in our consciousness. And with Jupiter and Gemini paving the way for Uranus, that'll be entering next year, Jupiter squaring Saturn in Pisces, and with Mercury in a T-square with it, and mutual reception with Jupiter, there's like this sort of belief system energy that wants to be updated. But again, it can also, people that are afraid of that and want to kind of dig in can get kind of preachy at this time too. So you have to be careful. Again, it's coming back to our sovereignty. And I'm going to keep this one short. I think that's what I want to say for now. To come back to ourselves, our personal sovereignty, allowing our belief systems to change, our way of doing things to change, to rise up to the challenges in our life, to find our own way of doing things and growing into a new version of ourselves. And a particularly potent time to kind of seed our new vision of what we could be, even if we're not sure, because things are so at flux right now. We might not know where things are going, but it's a really good time to dream in what we would, our highest hopes and wishes at this time. And in particular with Capricorn being an earth sign, to kind of physically write them down, make it physical, make it real, make a vision board, do something tactile that's very connected to your vision and where you want to be in 2025 and beyond, definitely beyond. We're going one step beyond this year, maybe 10. It's like just been saying, get out your surfboard because the wave is coming and you want to be on it. You don't want to be hit by it. So more to say on that soon. And for now, blessed be. I'm Michael Moon. Have an amazing new year.